So let's start with creative dysmorphia. I might be making up this term, but I think we kind of get it when we see creative dysmorphia. This is the kind of like this is where our confidence gets kind of warped as creatives, and let's kind of dive into it. So it all starts in college. And maybe everything starts in college, but it starts in college, and I'll share my story. When I went to JMU, I was 17. I had been doing filmmaking since I'd been doing it since I was 13 years old. It all started really like we would have like my birthday is one day away from my younger brother's birthday. So we'd have these kind of like he would choose one weekend, I would choose the other weekend. And on weekends as you get older, the birthday parties become less organized and then become less like the parents aren't around. And so like when you're 12, 13, it's like you're a little bit more mature and you can have your own kind of birthday party. So that's like, let's hang out in the basement, let's play some video games, let's play some Guitar Hero, whatever it was that year. And I got a hold of my mom's video camera. She had a Sony camera, a little mini DV tapes where, the kind that you had to like rewind. And that's where it all started for me. We just make home videos. Like my friends would show up at 9 o'clock, we'd eat some birthday cake, eat some pizza, and then like 10 o'clock, 10:30, we'd get out the Nerf guns, get out the fake Lord of the Rings swords and the lightsabers, and we'd make like a Call of Duty movie or something, or like some like ridiculous movie, and we'd shoot it all through the night, and it'd be 5 a.m., 6 a.m., we'd shoot the last scene of the movie, and then it'd be 7 a.m., and we'd plug it in with the little yellow and red and white cords, plug it into the TV, hit rewind, and we'd watch the whole movie and laugh our asses off. And that feeling just kept morphing, moving further and further from me into saying, hey, like, my parents were like, you can get an education for this. Like, you can go to college for this. You seem to like videos. You're in these video production classes in high school. I think I was age 14 when I made my first green screen. And we're talking like 2007, maybe 2008 at this point. And it just kind of kept pushing further and further. So then I looked at a couple colleges, I'm here in Virginia, so I didn't want to go so far as to California, but there are a couple art schools. I didn't want to go too artsy art schools, but I started to look at like what kind of colleges do I want. I landed on JMU because they had the kind of, I call it like the college experience, and also a pretty good film program. Film programs where it's like, it was either New York City, LA, Full Sail in Orlando. Everything else is just kind of like TV production or like media video production. It wasn't like a dedicated video production, but it all started in video production, just kind of, but born from a design department, a design school. So maybe you're an art major. Catch me up here. All right. So now you're like, it all starts in college. You're an art major, you're a photography major, you're a media arts, you're a design student. So you kind of have to start with, they indoctrinate you at the very beginning. They throw you in. Now you got to learn all the basics. You got to learn Final Cut. You got to learn Photoshop. You got to learn. This is very 101 class. Art. I think ours is called SMAD, the Media Arts and Design School. So in SMAD, you did SMAD 101. You just kind of introduce yourself to like, they would do things like the history of TV and the history of film and the history of art. And you're learning all these things, and you're just kind of plunging deeper and deeper and learning like, here now you're learning things like the principles of design. I remember learning all this in sophomore year, balance, color, form, contrast, repetition, movement, learning all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm making videos. I don't know if that's like exactly what is a part of it, but even things like typography, which I love typography. I grew to love it from college. And of course you learn editing, which medium to use, theory, collaboration. And you start to get like further and further into the college system, the kind of bachelors of art world, and we're indoctrinated. And like we start to believe that as art students, that these are the most important values to adhere to. These are the principles that shape our world. These are the core columns of our world. And that's kind of how I operated. I think that's how a lot of filmmakers, photographers, art majors operate. And then they get kind of further out into college, and then like graduation starts creeping up further and further, and you're like, okay. And you graduate, and you're still holding on to these values. And then you get to the real world and you start to get a big boy job, and you realize that you have a warped perspective, that the core values and principles and art of design and rule of thirds and color theory and like it doesn't really, not to say that it doesn't matter, but then when you start to work in a business sense and you work with other clients and you work with other businesses, you realize that that kind of stuff, that all those little principles of design really is just for you and like your own craft. It has nothing really to do with your job, or how you do your job. It's like, and this is where we have this creative dysmorphia, because we start to judge our work. We're looking at our work in as a freelancer, the work that we're getting with clients, and we judge it based off those values that we learn. We say, okay, this is a good photo because it has the rule of thirds. This is a good framing of this composition because it has movement. The eye draws you from the top left of the screen and draws you down to the bottom right of the screen. This has good flow. The pacing of this is nice. Because that's all we were taught. We were taught that these are the most important values. These are the things that we should know and we should pay attention to when we're judging our art and when we're looking at when we're giving feedback to our other colleagues. This is, that's the structure that we're born with, or the kind of like, if we're reborn into the real world after we graduate from college, those are the things that are the DNA of us as creatives, that we learn those principles of design, and it's warped. It doesn't make sense, because then we start to work with clients and we're applying some of these things, and yeah, we sound like a cool filmmaker, and we sound like we know what we're talking about, but clients judge things on a different scale, and this is where the friction starts to happen, and this is where our world starts to crumble beneath our feet, because you're talking about rule of thirds, you're talking about balance and movement and flow and color theory and emotions, and then the client has no idea what the fuck you're talking about, or what does this even mean, or what does this even matter.